Welcome to Touchdown Town on BetsTV. I'm Gilles Gallant with FTN Bets and BetsTV. It's week 5, and we're here every Sunday morning helping you make top quality decisions for your touchdown prop bets. Now, I got to welcome in my just on fire co-host right now, Brenden Deeg of National Football Post. And when I say red hot, like last week, just for last week's show on his picks, you would be up 12 units based on the picks that he was giving out. Like, I'm only up 8 units on the year. So you got to be sure to pay attention to his picks along with mine, because this isn't the Gilles Gallant touchdown show. This is Touchdown Town, and this guy has been bringing it. Brenden, welcome to the show.
Yeah, man, it's been last week was fun, but it's going to be tough to kind of live up to the hype after, you were telling me on Tuesday about that.
Yeah. Well, I was just more saying, like, you've peaked. I don't want to say you peaked, but it's very hard to sustain that kind of
that Montgomery strategy. That Montgomery one, man. But there's no long shots I was kind of into this week, so gotta head at least 2 or 3 because I don't have anything over plus 400. So sorry if you're looking for something over that.
Yeah, what a shame. What a shame. Yeah, no, that's okay. And again, I've got some stuff here this week. I'm looking for a bounce back after really some bad picks over the last 2 weeks, just kind of falling short of the end zone, or just bad luck, but at the same time, losers are losers. We're going to try to pick some winners today. And I've got 5 picks for the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern games. So does Brenden. We're going to get started here, but before we do, I want to make sure to remind everybody to check out my weekly show on BetsTV called Dog Day Afternoon. It's live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. This past week, I had Josh Kalaki from FTNNetwork. He is the head of content at FTN, and a really important section in there too, because we talked about how to break into the industry and just things that he kind of looks for in the hiring process, and really good stuff here. So again, I would really go back and try to watch some of that just for some tips on if you're trying to kind of break in or even try to get some, maybe a role with FTN or in the content creator space. Okay, well, we're going to get started here with picks, Brenden. I'm going to kick us off. First pick I'm going with is AJ Green, anytime touchdown, plus 230 with the Cardinals. Those odds are available at FanDuel. Now, Brenden, the first bullet point there, it says Hopkins equals Green. Now, I'm not going to say that AJ Green is as good as DeAndre Hopkins, but I will say if you looked at their stats side by side and you just excluded the amount of touchdowns, you would think they're the same player. They have the same amount of red zone targets and overall targets. They're both averaging just around 6 targets per game. The only difference is that DeAndre Hopkins has 4 touchdowns and AJ Green has 2 touchdowns. And I feel like when you're getting a talented wide receiver like AJ Green at plus 230, that's awesome odds compared to when you see DeAndre Hopkins, who is minus odds for this game. So I feel like taking Green over Hopkins is a little bit of a no-brainer. And one of the things that's very encouraging as well, AJ Green moving over to the Cardinals, playing 85% of the snaps for all Cardinals wide receivers. As I mentioned, he has 2 touchdowns in 4 games. I really like this pick, Brenden, at plus 230 for this Cardinals passing attack.
Yeah, so my AJ Green take in the offseason has not lived up. I was shredding that signing. I didn't think it was I didn't like how they went for all veterans with JJ Watt and AJ Green, but hey, it's paying off for them. Yeah, man, this is great value. The offense is rolling. Like last week against the Rams, they lit up that defense, and look at that defense against the Seahawks last week. I know Russell Wilson got hurt, but before he got hurt, that defense was playing well. So, yeah, this is great value for a second wide receiver and probably the best offense in the league right now.
Absolutely. Let's see what first pick you've got out of the gate this week for week 5, Brenden.
Okay, so I'm going with a guy making his first start in the NFL, Trey Lance, plus 195 at FanDuel. I was huge on Trey Lance's offseason. Once I saw he was getting the start, went right to FanDuel, found those odds, plus 195 is worth it. Look, I don't know if he's going to have the kind of same Kaepernick game plan from about 6-7 years ago, but I'm expecting a similar style of offense. Kyle Shanahan has been waiting for this moment for him to start. He loves that run game with the quarterback. And he had 7 carries last week. He only had 9 completions, and he only played 51% of the snaps. So I'm expecting at least 10 to 15 carries. It's a new system. They don't know what's coming at them. I'm expecting kind of like a little bit of confusion on the defensive side for the 49ers. I'm all over this. Plus 195, sign me up. This was like my favorite pick of the week. I know it's not juicy odds, but look, he's going to get a ton of carries today, and I'm expecting Kyle Shanahan to deliver. We'll see, but that 49ers offense needs juice, and I think he's going to bring it.
Well, I think the two things that you have going in your favor is, and this isn't meant to be a slight on Trey Lance, but it's more, he's a bit one-dimensional in a sense that you know what he's going to probably do in the red zone, that he's going to tuck and run. And not only that, he has the strength and talent to get to the end zone. Just like I would probably put him against Kyle Juszczyk as far as like the Niners players that I would trust running within the 5-yard line. And then, of course, against that Cardinals defense, they haven't been as strong against the run this year. And I just think that Trey Lance, like the fact that you're getting that plus 195 for a player that has already shown that's exactly what he does, he should probably be in the plus 110, plus 120 range. And if he scores this week, that's where it's going to go.
Exactly. There was a couple plays last week where Jimmy Garoppolo, if he was in, he would have overthrew a guy. He would have went to his second read. Trey Lance just would go straight up the middle, and he just takes off and runs. So I'm expecting a ton of that this week. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It should have been plus 120, plus 130 once I saw it was in that range.
Just kicking a guy while he's down, too. Just throwing a little Jimmy G insult out there.
Yeah, well, he should have been starting week 1. Let's get real.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on to pick number 2 for me. And this one, no slide. But again, this is a redemption pick, Brenden. We're going with Joe Burrow anytime touchdown, plus 450 at BetMGM. And again, I don't think Joe Burrow, he doesn't have the extensive red zone carries like a Kyler Murray or a Trey Lance or even a Lamar Jackson, but he's rushed from inside the 10-yard now in his last 2 games, both against the Jaguars and the Steelers. I think he's starting to trust that knee even more. You're seeing it as the weeks go along. And again, kind of bring up, this is a bit of a makeup call for me. I personally believe the gambler owes me one after last week's egregious overturn against the Jaguars, where, again, I will not let that go. He scored that touchdown. And again, I think the one thing that is very encouraging for this is there's a lot of missing defensive players for the Packers. Like Preston and Zadarius Smith both out. Jair Alexander is going to be out as well. I think the Bengals are going to put up a lot of points. And Mixon, even if he does play, I just don't know how effective he's going to be. And I think there might be more opportunities from the goal line for Burrow in this spot. So at plus 450, he was my favorite quarterback to score this week in week 5.
So these are the biggest odds of both of our picks, but make sure that extra point gets through this week.
Yeah. Well, and that's the deal is that I just got too caught up in it, and let that be a lesson for everybody that it's not a touchdown until
the gambling gods owe you this one.
Well, gambler doesn't owe anybody anything. He's already shown that he has no problem taking right away. So, all right, pick number 2 coming from Brenden. What do you got?
So I got Robert Tonyan at plus 200 going to same game. I was expecting kind of plus 130, plus 140 for him. When I saw it in the plus 200 range, this one hit my eyes. Look, he's probably their best red zone target or red zone threat. Sorry, he didn't get a lot of targets last week. But I think that was because they utilized their wide receivers a lot. They found a matchup. I think the Bengals linebackers are not as good as everyone thinks. They're young. They're still learning. Plus 200. He's never in this range. He's always in the plus 150, plus 140 range. So there's not a lot of like stats I can throw your way, I guess, for this one to kind of convince you. But this is more of kind of just a lean for me. But plus 200, again, he's never in this odds range. If it was like a Sunday night, Monday night game, it would have been in the plus 130, plus 140 range. This is kind of just a feel. I think they're going to go back to him. The Bengals are doing tape and studying what happened last week. They're going to take away the wide receivers, take away Randall Cobb, take away Lazard. So I think he's going to have a lot of red zone targets, and he plays over 70% of the snaps every single week. So
that was the point that I was going to say that supports your theory is that he's getting way more snaps than Mercedes Lewis. He is going to be on the field in nearly every circumstance, whether it be blocking or being a pass catcher. And you're right. At plus 200, it's rare to get him that way because he's only scored 1 touchdown this year. And that's the problem with him is that and it's not a problem, but it's just more when you bet on him, you expect top 5 to top 10 tight end range, and you're just not really getting that like from him so far, the way that Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers offense has shown through 4 games. I'm going to be taking a tight end with my next pick, and we're going over to the Texans and Patriots game, and it's my third pick of the week. I'm going with Jonnu Smith, anytime touchdown at plus 290. Those odds are available at FanDuel. Jonnu is a longtime favorite of mine. He leads the team in red zone targets already, so I guess we'll start with that. He did catch a touchdown in week 4. And I think the main reason why I wanted to bet on Jonnu is the Texans cannot guard tight ends this year. They're second last in fantasy points versus tight ends, so they're giving up a ton of catches, a ton of receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns allowed in 2021 to tight ends. That's the second worst in the NFL. And as I was mentioning, I have a very profitable relationship with Jonnu in his time with the Titans, and I'm not going to give up on him yet. At plus 290, I'm kind of a moth to the flame on these kinds of odds, especially with the first 3 weeks when he was plus 210 or lower. And I think what I would say is if you're not buying into the Jonnu Smith pick, make sure to take a tight end in this match, whether that be Jonnu or Hunter Henry, because again, the Texans are just allowing tight ends to just do whatever they want against them. And you can probably get Hunter Henry in the plus 200 to plus 250 range as well. I just would prefer Jonnu in this instance if I'm going to get better odds.
When I saw them playing the Texans, I knew you were going for a Patriots tight end this week. I didn't know which one, but he was a favorite of yours. He was a favorite of yours last year. Look, he scored a touchdown. Was it last week he scored a touchdown, or was it 2 weeks ago?
Last week.
Last week, yeah. And they paid him a lot of money. He hasn't really kind of lived up to that contract.
Well, they paid both of them too, right?
Exactly,
so that's the thing. Like they're both going to be on the field, and technically from a snap count standpoint, Henry has been on the field more than Jonnu, but Jonnu is just getting way more looks in the red zone and overall, just from a pass catching standpoint. I mean, Jacoby Myers is the top pass catching option on the Patriots, but Jonnu is.
You can't find the end zone.
Scoring.
Jacoby Myers, I think, is like breaking a record for the most touches without a touchdown. But yeah, Jonnu's got the more kind of long threat too. Like he can score from anywhere on the field. Hunter Henry's more of kind of just a red zone threat. So there could be like a 30-yard line touchdown to him, kind of more of a deep threat too.
And they give him carries too. That was my third pick. What is your third pick for week 5, Brenden?
Okay, so I love this one. This is more of kind of just injuries playing into this one, but Kadarius Toney plus 260. This surprised me. I was expecting to kind of be in that 150, 160 range. When I saw him plus 260, this one hit my card right away. Look, he's their number 2 wide receiver right now after Kenny Golladay. The Giants wide receiver room is banged up. He had 8 targets, I think last week, 8 or 9 targets. I don't have the exact number, but he was their first round pick as well. So he's going to see increased playing time, increased targets. I think it kind of took him a little bit to get in the zone in that offense. It's a learning curve, right? If you're going from college to the NFL, especially as a wide receiver. So they spent a first round pick on him. He's getting more playing time at plus 290. Sign me up.
Yeah, I like him too. I think when I saw the odds and we were talking about the pick earlier in the week, I wasn't sure if Sterling Shepard was going to play too. And I think that was my biggest concern was like, okay, if Shepard and Golladay are out there, he kind of ends up being the odd man out. But no Shepard, automatically he's jumping into that wide receiver 2 slot. And the one thing that's very encouraging from a Cowboys standpoint is that I expect Diggs to probably be facing up on Golladay most of the match, if not most of the game. I would think he's going to probably try to match up with him for most of the game. But if not, that leaves kind of Toney in that spot to be able to kind of exploit over the top, especially with his speed. I just worry about Daniel Jones being able to get him the ball, but
hey, he's played well.
I know. I can't. The slander is not there for me anymore. And here I am wearing a Cowboy shirt. I've already been very vocal. I'm taking the Giants money line this week because I really think that this is a game that the Cowboys generally lose when everybody's a little bit more hyped up about them. All right, so that was your third pick. I'm going to go with my fourth pick now, and I am going to take a Detroit Lion. Lord, bear me strength. We are going with Quintez Cephus, anytime touchdown, plus 260. Those odds are available at BetMGM. And the one thing about Quintez is by default, he's wide receiver 1 in Detroit. He leads the team in snaps for wide receivers and routes run for the position. He's second on the team in red zone targets behind TJ Hawkinson, who is a little bit banged up coming into this matchups. And he's got 2 touchdowns in 2021. Mind you, both of them were in garbage time. And the Lions score the majority of their points on passing touchdowns this year. And the Vikings defense, bit overrated, and I think there's a little bit of recency bias versus the Browns of holding them to 14 points. You would look at the raw stats for Minnesota and think, okay, well, their points per game are so low because of how well they did against Seattle and Cleveland, and I think that was more of a inefficient passing offense more so than the Vikings defense playing well. And that's kind of where it is now, is that if you're going to give me plus 260 odds for the top wide receiver, again, just by default, I'm going to take it over a guy over like Khalif Raymond, for example, and even Hawkinson to a lesser extent, because Hawkinson is probably around the plus 150 to plus 170 range.
Yeah, he's really emerged as kind of their red zone wide receiver target. That wide receiver room is pretty bad, but he's made a step from his rookie year. Yeah, he's a big body guy. Jared Goff likes going for those guys, and at those odds, I like it. I know it's a Detroit Lion, but I think it's worth it.
It's just more. I've seen now already two games just with the Lions of how they play, and they do pass a lot. And Jared Goff, I mean, say what you will about him, but he hasn't looked terrible. Like
the offense is functional. Like the passing offense has looked better than I thought it was going to be this offseason. So yeah, and at those odds, man, like he literally is their only red zone target beside Hawkinson.
Exactly. So let's go with your fourth pick now, Brenden.
Okay, so I am going with probably one of my least favorite players in the NFL, but at plus 250, Taysom Hill for the New Orleans Saints. He literally has emerged as their quarterback in the red zone.
Three quarterbacks on the show.
Yeah, I know. I'm learning from you, my man. But it looks like Sean Payton doesn't trust Winston in the red zone right now. He has 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. His playing time has doubled. He was at 23% of the snaps in week 2. He's closer to 50% now over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I couldn't pass it up. Like a guy that's that hot, scoring touchdowns the past 2 weeks at plus 250. I know it's risky. I know he doesn't play quarterback the whole game. It's more of kind of he's pretty much used everywhere. Like rushing, he gets carries, he gets throws. He hasn't passed as much this year, but it's worth it at those odds. And he's probably the hottest guy in the red zone in the NFL right now.
Well, I was going to say I don't think it's as risky as you think because Sean Payton will not quit Taysom Hill. Like Sean Payton is in love with Taysom Hill, like the way that I'm in love with Scotch. Like, you know what I mean? Just like it's not going to end. It's going to continue. And to the point where if I have too much Scotch, I will get sick. And that's sometimes too, is that too much Taysom Hill in the game plan, it will backfire like you saw against the Giants, because I had Jameis Winston to throw an interception at plus money last week. And guess who throws the interception in the red zone? Damn Taysom Hill, because he's, in my opinion, he's not very accurate of a quarterback from a passing situation. So it's not a bad pick at all. It's just more what's going on with this New Orleans Saints offense and what are they going to do? And that's the problem, is that the only thing that has so far has been consistent is Taysom Hill running the ball in the red zone. He's literally their most trusted guy in the red zone. And it baffles me. Like
more
than Kamara, which is hilarious.
I don't understand it. Like I can't stand watching him run the offense at prime time, especially too. There's been some night games where I'm like cringing watching him try to run around. But hey, like he's putting up numbers, he's producing. So it was plus 400 on Tuesday. So his odds did fall. I was debating on switching it, but I had to stick with my gut.
No, ride with it.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna go with my last pick of the week. This is probably, if I had to pick like a safe pick, I guess this would be it. Going with Old Faithful, Hunter Renfrow, anytime touchdown, plus 220, Brenden. And like I was saying, he is all reliable for me now because he's probably my new favorite player to bet on, because he doesn't really get the respect from odds makers like the way that he is utilized as far as snap counts, red zone targets, all those good stuff. But he never is listed less than plus 200, so you always can get decent value on him. And he scored twice already this week, the past 2 weeks, on some really pretty moves to fall backwards into the end zone on these corners. And the Bears, their defense, they've allowed 7 touchdowns to wide receivers this season. That's tied for second last in the NFL. And so far, of all the receivers, like outside of Darren Waller, I think Hunter Renfrow has the trust factor now with Derek Carr, and he's converted a lot of third downs from the slot. And the Bears have been actually really tough versus tight ends this year. They haven't allowed a touchdown yet. And if Darren Waller gets locked up, I think Renfrow is the next best option to get him at plus 220. Very pleased to have those odds with a guy that I think is I think he's the best wide receiver on that team.
He hit for both. You had him right on Monday night against the Chargers.
Yeah.
So he hit for both of us then. Hey, maybe he hits on the fake punt. Maybe he tackles and picks up the ball and runs into the end zone this time.
Well, he's returning kicks too. Like he's so utilized. He's such a utility player for them. The way that sometimes they'll put him out wide. Sometimes they'll have him in the slot. Sometimes he's returning kicks. And the trust factor there is there. And then if you're giving it to me at plus 220, especially when you're listing Henry Ruggs at like plus 190, like I would rather have Hunter Renfrow in this spot.
He's good in like small areas in the red zone, especially. He's like really shifty. Kind of reminds me of like not Wes Welker, not as good as that, but kind of a retro Welker.
Yeah, I was
like
going to say like a poor man's Edelman is kind of what I was thinking of him. All right, now that was my 5 picks. Let's top off the show. Let's hear your 5th pick of the week. I imagine it's probably going to be an Eagle if I had to guess.
So this is my first Eagle since week 1 when I took Jalen Hurts and that didn't hit. I've stayed away from it, but I love this pick. Zach Ertz plus 390 at FanDuel. Look, he's starting to get involved in the offense. He wasn't the first 2 weeks. They're paying him $8.5 million. So I guess they kind of realized, look, he's got to get on the field. He has 15 targets combined over the last 2 weeks. Jalen Hurts missed him. He was wide open in the end zone last week. He scored a touchdown in week 3 against the Cowboys. He could have 3, and a ref called back a touchdown as well. Like he could have 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. They're running 12 personnel in the end zone or in the red zone. Sorry, kind of old Doug Peterson offense. Nick Sirianni's taken place from him. But look, I think him and Hurts also have a connection. They were doing really well in training camp apparently. The plus 390 for a guy that gets 15 targets over the last 2 weeks. I couldn't believe those odds. This is probably, I'll say it, this is my favorite pick of the week. I'm not even being a homer here, Jill.
Well, and I was actually about to tell you that it's my favorite pick of the picks you made, and here's why. So I'm a big Dallas Goedert fan as far as betting on touchdown scores, because when he first came into the league and since then, he's always around the plus 250 to plus 300 range because Zach Ertz would always be overvalued by odds makers, even as he was being phased out of the offense. He would always be in the plus 110 to plus 150 range. And Zach Ertz was nearly unbettable, but then I would bet on Goddard instead, and he would be the one scoring the touchdowns against my Cowboys or, in just those primetime game scenarios. And so I always avoided Ertz because I was just like, man, he's not being used. I'm not going to bet him at plus 150 when he's not getting any looks in the red zone. Like this isn't the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Since then, it's basically been, I don't want to say downhill, but it has been from a production standpoint.
Oh, it's been downhill.
But now it's like they overcorrected, and now you can get him as high as like plus 400 at some books. Like, so it's like, whoa. Okay. Like, I'm not saying that he is like Zach Ertz of 3 years ago, but if you're going to use him the way that they've been using him, and the fact that he is still, being thrown to in the red zone, you're going to give me plus 400 or plus 390, whatever the odds range are. If it's plus 350 or more, that's a good grab from a value standpoint for a guy who's being utilized as heavily as he's been over the last 2 weeks. So again, not trying to be pandering to my co-host here of especially while he wears Eagles gear on the show.
It's funny, an Eagles and Cowboys fan running an anytime touchdown show. It's pretty
well, and the producer's a Giants fan too, so it's hilarious. Like basically we're just always butting heads on production edge and coming up with content ideas. So those are my 5 picks. Those are Brendan's 5 picks. We've got 10 picks total. Brendan has been killing it this season. Before we go, Brendan, did you mind wanting to tell people what your record and what your units are this year? Because, again, making 12 units so far just off of last week's show. Tell the folks at home what your record is so far. Because, again, I'm only up 8 units for the year, but you're up way more than that.
So I'm sitting at 20 wins and 35 losses, plus 17.45 units. Plus 10.85 of those were last Sunday's slate. Can't promise another one of those, but I'm really confident this week. I didn't like a lot of long shots, but hey, I'm confident in these guys. If I get 2 of those, and I'm pretty confident Zach Ertz at least is going to hit. So I'm not going to say it will be last week again, but there's no David Montgomery this week. We were looking at that Lions trend, and it wasn't worth it.
I mean, I won't lie. I put because I always do these like $2, $5 like parlay sprinkles. And because of how bad the Detroit Lions run defense is, I did put a little sprinkle on Kirk Cousins as part of one of these like long shot parlays that I do. And he was like plus 650. So for that exact reason, because Alex Madison or Dalvin Cook, they're likely going to score 2 touchdowns today against the Lions. With both of them playing, it's really difficult to pick between the two. But if you're ever in a position going forward, make sure to pay attention to who the Lions are playing and consider the running back to score 2 touchdowns against them. So that's all for me today. 5 picks from me, 5 picks from Brenden. We'll be doing this every Sunday at 11 Eastern on Bets Media. And I have some touchdown score picks coming out later today for Sunday Night Football for the Bills and Chiefs. And you can head over to FTN Bets to get those, and follow me on Twitter at GDog5000. Make sure to follow Brenden Deeg at Brenden Deeg NFP. Thank you for watching Touchdown Town. I'm Gilles Gallant with BetsTV, and bon chance.